It's finally here. It is finally here. We are an hour away from kickoff of the 2022 World Cup for the U.S. men's national team, a day that we've been waiting for months, years at this point. Producer Brad, the starting lineup has been announced. It is the exact starting lineup that you had coming into when we did our preview last week. Just off the top of my head, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it is Matt Turner in goal. It is Jedi. It is Tim Ream at left center back. It is Walker Zimmerman at right center back. Serginho Dest, which is kind of a question mark coming in at right back. Then we get the MMA midfield. We get Pulisic up top, Sargent in the middle, and Tim Weah on the right. So your reaction first for the starting lineup, which is the exact one you selected.
Well, I got the lineup right. I think that means my score prediction at the end of this, when we do that, has to be right too, right?
I think so, yeah, hopefully. What was your score prediction?
2-1 US.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Oh,
okay, so first things first, I mean, the talk coming in was whether or not Serginho Dest was going to start. That was a big concern. Also, Weston McKennie, whether or not he was going to start, that was a big concern. Both of those guys are on the roster. I know during midweek you were asking me about Tim Weah possibly starting at right back and just all that. It seems like all that was just conjecture. I don't know, but it looks like both those guys are going to be ready to go today.
Yeah, there was a weird moment during Serginho Dest and Weston McKennie's press conference where they asked, "How are you going to break down a back five?" And Serginho just leans into Weston McKennie and like can't talk about it. It's making me think like, is there some big wrinkle coming? Is there? Okay, hang on. We're gonna put Tim Weah at right back. We're gonna do all these things. And then last night I was seeing some Shaq Moore rumors as well, which I was like, that would be a turn of events of all turn of events. So I think we went kind of fastball right down the middle, kind of the lineup we wanted to play, but have never really been at full health to do so.
That's true.
So I really think, I mean, barring Chris Richards and Miles Robinson, but those are long-term injuries. But we've always wanted to see this midfield together, and we wanted to see these guys up front healthy together. I really think the subs are going to come into play. It's going to be interesting to see how the flow of the game is going, who's the first off the bench. If we have a lead, please God, do we bring on Gio or Brendan? I don't think we will. I think if we have a lead, maybe we do see someone like Shaq Moore come in for Serginho Dest, provide a little more one-on-one coverage on that wing rather than having Serginho bombing forward and risking his future health as well throughout the tournament.
Yeah, managing those minutes is going to be interesting. If Serginho is in fact not 100%, we know that Gio's not 100%. We have questions about Weston. So that's going to be interesting to see how Greg goes about that. I think this lineup tells us a lot about, I think, how the team is going to choose to attack Wales. I think Tim Ream being in the lineup shows that we're expecting to pass the ball out of the back a little bit. He's going to bring that more than any of the other center backs that we have. Also seeing Josh Sargent up top. To me, it says that we might be looking to play long and try to win second balls, which we know that the MMA midfield is fantastic at. Can we just hit it long and then challenge for that second ball and have Eunice and Weston win those, and then our attack is away? It's going to be good, especially, you have Sargent and you have Weah in the lineup. So those are two guys that can play that long ball game if we choose to do so. Yeah. And I also remember whenever we played Wales, what was it in 2020?
It was 2020. It was during lockdown, pretty much.
The press that was the first game that we really saw a significant press from the U.S. I remember Brendan Aronson was in that game for Christian Pulisic, and they just went right after Wales, and Wales had a hard time dealing with that. Now, to be fair, that was a Wales team 2 years ago that didn't have a lot of the players, but it is what it is. The U.S. were missing players as well, and that was 2 years. I mean, 2 years ago, we didn't really have. Yunus Musa wasn't what he is right now.
That was the day game back in 2020.
Yeah, exactly.
That game.
Yeah. So really excited about how we're going to line up. Now, the U.S. wasn't the only team that played today. Our next opponent, England, played Iran this morning and absolutely wiped the floor with them. I believe it finished 6-2. Not the start for England that U.S. fans want to see necessarily. It looks like they're clicking on all cylinders. Also, it looks like Iran is going to be one of the weaker teams in the tournament. That being said, I know that before the game, they had their national anthem, which the players didn't sing their national anthem, which was a big political move for that group, and I'm sure was weighing heavily on their minds throughout the game. So I think that is a fact. That's going to be a factor for Iran, whether we like it or not, throughout the tournament. But your thoughts on England in that first game?
My thoughts on England was, one, Jude Bellingham just added a lot of to his price tag that's probably coming in January. He was absolutely everywhere. I mean, he's down protecting the back four, and then he's up scoring goal. It was, I mean, it really was. He's here, he's there, he's every effing where, Jude Bellingham. And then my second thought was, okay, they're scoring goals, and then they brought in their subs, and they brought in Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, Marcus Rashford. I'm like, that to be able to pull those subs off the bench just casually is just absolutely unbelievable. I mean, that just speaks to how deep their talent pool is attacking wise. They did get beaten transition once or twice. That led to a goal in the penalty. So that gave me some hope. But that attack is just unreal.
Yeah, I think we saw largely kind of what Iran has been about from the beginning, which is like try to sit deep and then try to hit you with Taremi on the counter, try to get him some opportunities. He didn't have many opportunities in that game, but he was able to convert.
He didn't have one until like the 70-minute mark.
Yeah, but he got his goal and then he got his penalty. So it seems like that's what Iran would have hoped for going in. Just don't concede 6 goals. But yeah, the play from Jude Bellingham was just absolutely tremendous. Let's hop back into this game. I see Berman. Let's see. Berman has a comment here. The flip side is MMA couldn't break down their bunker. They never have anyone's, and that's true. That's the big limiting quality for the MMA midfield is their ability to break opposition down in the attack. It's something that we frankly, I don't think we've ever seen outside of, say, like the Jamaica game at home in World Cup qualifying. And to be fair to Jamaica, that was one of the worst Jamaicas that we've seen. I mean, that team was going through a lot of issues at that point. We saw a much better Jamaica later on in World Cup qualifying. And I expect Wales to be much better than that Jamaican side. So it's going to be really difficult for the U.S. to break this team down. I don't know that we're going to look to break them down as much. It seems like with this lineup that Greg put out there, it's try to hit in transition, try to hit them on the counter. That's what I'm seeing. I don't know what you're seeing.
Yeah, I'm looking at Wales lineup right now, and they're starting Gareth Bale, which I like. I don't necessarily. I mean, he is still a good player. He still has those moments of magic in him. But I would be terrified to see him coming off the bench in like the 70-minute mark if we're up a goal or we're tied, because that goal versus for LAFC is seared in my mind. But playing Dan James next to him, so it's kind of a dual striker system, looks like.
Yeah,
but
that's some speed. That's some speed up top.
That's some speed up top. So yeah, I think we could try and absorb some pressure a little bit and then hit him on the counter. I don't know. I definitely think, and Callum Wilson is up there too. So, all right. Ramsey is in the midfield. They're playing a back three. It looks like a 3-4-3.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm so nervous right now.
Well, if you consider, I mean, whenever the U.S. sets up in the attack, you know that we generally have that 2-3-5 attack setup. And whenever we're in that shape, or even whenever we're in transition, a lot of times Tim Weah floats up way high and is essentially a second striker or a striker in that build out, which is going to be important against those 3 center backs for Wales. So I did read about people thinking about how can we match up against this 3-man back line for Wales if we only play one forward up top. They can be they can be eaten alive by this Wales attack, which might inform why Gio Reyna is on the bench. Speaking of Gio Reyna being on the bench, this is a lineup for the U.S. where we really do have some difference makers that can come off the bench. I know
Yes.
you mentioned Gareth Bale starting for Wales. I think Gareth Bale scares me a little bit more coming off the bench, just knowing the kind of player he is. So I'm a little relieved that he's starting as opposed to coming off the bench. But for the U.S., this could definitely be a situation where you bring out the MMA midfield. You try to be disciplined in your defense and in your attack. You try to keep the game close for 60 minutes, and then at the 60-minute mark, you can bring in guys like Gio Reyna and Brennan Aronson and do a few things tactically to really put the pressure on for that final 30 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I really. Who do you think is first to come off the bench?
I think it has to be Gio Reyna, right? I mean, it has to be.
Yeah, I think so. I think he comes in for Weston because I don't know if Weston's 90 minutes fit.
I could see that. That's definitely a thing. I mean, you could also potentially take off Jedi Robinson, and you could put Serginho Dest as a left back or as a right back, or you put Dest as a left back, and then put Tim Weah as like
your down and
exactly.
Okay.
Weah is essentially your right winger, and then you can really go at teams like that. I think we saw a little bit of that. That it's essentially the shape that we had whenever Reggie Cannon was playing as that third center back. So essentially, this would be putting Dest as that third center back just on the left side, which is a situation that I think we'll see considering the way that we played against Saudi Arabia. It makes a little bit of sense to me. But yeah, I think Greg does have options for sure, and just depending on how the game goes, there's a few different ways that we can go. It is going to be interesting to see how he manages the minutes of Weston McKennie and Gio Reyna throughout this tournament. But to have a player like Gio Reyna to come on at any point and really change the game is a good thing for the U.S.
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think if we have a 1-goal lead, I could see Cameron Carter-Vickers coming on. Because I've watched every minute of Fulham, and Tim Ream is great for 90 minutes exactly. You get him for 90 minutes exactly. And that kind of scares me for I mean, I don't know. I guess the last taste in my mouth is that game against Manchester United where they scored in the 95th minute. And you see Tim Ream throwing his hands up in the air. So I don't know. I think I definitely think we could see someone like Cameron Carter-Vickers coming off the bench really late in the game if we're trying to protect the lead.
Now, Big Harry Jake, shout out Big Harry Jake, says that very happy to see Sarge starting. I think that will redefine our frontline play versus having Jesus, which is a really interesting. I mean, he's very much correct, and it's a really interesting thing for the second half or for the last 5 or 6 games, whatever, since we've been in like the Jesus Ferreira era. We haven't had that guy who's standing at the front of the line and a guy that you could play balls up top to. So this is a very different way that we can go about our attack, and it allows us to do some different things. We've looked very good in the past. Some of our better games were with Ricardo Pepi, essentially doing something similar in this position. Now, credit to Jesus.
Sarge's more physical.
Yeah, Sargent's more physical. The U.S. did look good in some moments against Morocco and Uruguay with Jesus on the field as well, so that he can function. But in this particular game, it looks like the balls over the top and the balls to the front forward, and having that front forward fighting for everything against the center backs is going to be important. That's why you would go with Sargent over Jesus. Your thoughts on Josh Sargent, how he's going to perform here? I mean, this could be a very big tournament for Josh Sargent.
I think it could as well. I think it could maybe lead to a transfer. I don't know. I think, like we were saying earlier, he could really be out there for hold up play and be a target man. And have Christian and Weah running in behind him a lot, because we know Jesus likes to come down and get the ball. I mean, we saw him in the friendly against Japan. He was next to Tyler Adams once. I was like, okay, I'm all for help support the buildup, but you're a little too far back there, buddy. Yeah. So I think we could see a lot of lump up balls and to Sarge and have him laying off to someone like Christian coming in behind. So we'll see. we'll
Yeah,
definitely see.
definitely. Whenever you have two wingers like Christian Pulisic and Tim Weah, who are phenomenal at running in the channel and getting in behind defenses, you're going to have some speed and you're going to have opportunities to put balls in for those guys. So if Sargent can link up and do that, if we can get that ball up top and we can win that second ball and then play balls into the channels for Pulisic and Weah, that could be a devastating tactic for the U.S. going forward. Berman
Yeah.
does say if you're going pure striker, Sargent's probably the right call, but he's never produced versus anyone better than Cuba, which is fair. I think Sargent had a hat trick against Cuba, and that's where like the majority of his U.S. men's national team goals have come from. To be fair to Sargent, we have not really seen him much since he's had his career renaissance over at Norwich in the championship. The only minutes that we saw, I think, was it the second half against Japan or Saudi Arabia? It was one of those. And I believe it was with Japan, and
I
it
think
was
it
a
was
rough
Japan,
game.
and then Pepe had it against Saudi Arabia. Neither of them did well because the midfield was
Yeah, tough to judge
really,
either player in those
yeah.
games. But hopefully we'll get to see that Sargent who's been tearing it up for Norwich lately.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think you got to be fair to all the players. I mean, we just haven't seen anybody at the striker position play really well at all. So we're hoping somebody can come through. Sargent has had a phenomenal year. It seems like personally he's a really good dude, and I'm pulling for him all the
Yeah.
way. Somebody mentioned earlier that the best coverage for the game is going to be on is it Telemundo? Telemundo's doing it.
Yes, and I am partial to them. May or may not be part of my day job. Um,
Yeah, that's true. Well, I will say since you're a little bit since you have some interest in that particular network, the Fox coverage has been bizarre. It has been
yes.
absolutely bizarre because they're just not addressing any of the things going on in Qatar from a geopolitical sense or any of the issues that could possibly be going on in the World Cup. I'm sure a lot of us watched that first game between Qatar and Ecuador, and that first goal was wiped away by one of the more bizarre offsides calls that we've seen. And you could almost hear in Stu Holden's voice that he was trying not to
Yeah.
like
Say the
pretend
fix is
like that
in.
was a bet, like insinuate in any
Check's
way that
cleared.
there could be anything going on off the field at all. It seems like Fox has really dug into the almost Qatar propaganda at this point, which is a bit unsettling. I don't like it at all. But I guess that's going to be the reality for the next month with Fox.
Yeah, I guess. And if that's what you're going to do, that's what you're going to do. But be ready for the backlash of it.
Yeah,
And
David Lieberman says FIFA includes in the TV contract a lot of things they aren't allowed to talk about, but
that's
other
not
networks are
necessarily true.
definitely talking about it.
Did you see what Gary Neville said? Did you see what the Telemundo crew started off with it? A lot of the broadcasts just got it out of the way, just right off the bat. Just address it, move on. We did see one of the. I'm completely blanking on her name right now. She's a hell of a sideline reporter. Wore the armband that Harry Kane was
Oh yeah,
supposed to
the English, yeah.
Yes, I'm completely blanking on her name right now. But yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting. Like I said, if that's what you're gonna do, that's what you're gonna do. But you better be prepared for the backlash that's gonna come from it.
Absolutely bizarre the way that they're going about it, just to pretend like I guess putting your heads in the sand and not even mentioning it at all. Though, we've had the conversation before about whether or not this is going to be a net positive for Qatar or not. It seems like all of my non-soccer friends who aren't super invested in the team or the game, all they're sending me is links about the weirdness going on in Qatar. It seems like that's not going to plan for them. But we'll see how it plays out for the rest of this tournament. Let's see what else we have for this game. I mean, I'm really excited about the MMA midfield and how they're going to match up against this Wales midfield. I mean, we talked coming in that this MMA midfield has the potential to really dominate any opposition that they're playing against, and I'm excited to see how they come together. What are your thoughts on how they're going to be? Are we going to be pressure right from the start? Are we going to be sitting back defensively? What are your thoughts?
I think we sit back a little bit to start the game, and then we start really trying to build it up. Remind me, when was the last time we actually saw the MMA midfield together?
It probably would have been the El Salvador game.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely I definitely think Weston is going to have a few chances in the air. I think Tyler's going to be out there just destroying people. My one worry about Tyler is if he goes in a little overzealous into a challenge. I think that might be a little bit of a cause for pause, but
We don't want an early yellow card or anything like
an
that.
early yellow card would be. I mean, you get out there. I have the game up right here. They're taking the pitch right now. Their blood must just be pumping. And it just, I hope our boys can, keep their heads. I mean, that's why we brought a few of the old heads to kind of keep the younger guys cool. But I think Tyler's going to be out there just destroying people, doing what he does for Leeds. Eunice is going to be very big in the buildup, and I think what Weston brings in the final third is his prowess in the air. I really think he's going to get a few chances, especially if we're lumping big balls over the top. But if we have a chance to get out wide and swing it across, I think Weston will have a chance or two.
The U.S. has looked absolutely their best throughout the Berhalter tenure whenever Weston McKennie has a good game. I think that's just flat out. And
as Weston goes, we go.
I think that's a truism of this national team, and we're gonna have to see: are we gonna get the Weston McKennie that we got in September? Or are we gonna get the Weston McKennie that we're all really hoping that we're gonna get? Yunus Musa is just a player on the rise. I mean, there's already a lot of connection with him and some of the top teams in the world. It seems like the world is beginning to take notice. Hopefully he slams through that door in this tournament and we really get to see that Yunus Musa that we saw, I think, throughout World Cup qualifying and beyond, that just went on those barnstorming runs from the midfield to the attack.
I think he's up for the fight, man. I really think he is. I mean, the last taste in my mouth of Yunus Musa in a USA jersey was him just being a dog in that rainstorm in Honduras. I mean, it was Honduras, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he was just fighting. I mean, the last thing I remember is him. He got taken down when he was on a breakaway, and he's covered in mud.
Oh yeah, had mud in his mouth.
Amazing. I mean, the dude has so much dog in him, and he's. I mean, I think he is poised for a big breakout. I think he's going to be shutting out a lot of the noise. They were asking him about all the big transfer rumors. Apparently, all the big clubs in Italy are looking at him. Liverpool's looking at him. But that's how it goes for every young player at this tournament. I mean, someone's going to get a lot of zeros added to their name that they don't deserve. And it's going to be about how you can control what you can control. And that a lot of that falls on Greg and the staff about how they tune out the noise, about how they stick together. And I think for all the criticism that Greg has come under, I think he's done a good job with that. I think he's created a good environment for these guys to be in, especially for a guy that I want to talk to you about, Christian. I watched Christian.
Before you get into that, Josh UFO gave a $2 donation. He said score predictions. Let's get some quick score predictions and let's get into Christian.
2-1.
2-1. Yeah, 2-1 sounds really nice, doesn't it? I feel like 2-1 has a nice ring to it.
I could see it being a tie, but if it goes either way, it's only going to be a 1-goal affair. I think there's only 1 goal between these teams.
2-1 feels right. I think I'm going to stick with 2-1. So what are your thoughts on Christian?
I saw him smiling in a press conference for the first time in a very long time. And that was something that was just a breath of fresh air to me because, I mean, he is. There have been times at Chelsea he has just looked miserable, and I think a lot of the big questions were: can we get a happy Christian? Can we create an environment to where we can get the best of these guys? Like Landon Donovan said on the In Soccer We Trust podcast, can we get these guys in a position where they can just play free, just go out there and play the game that they know they can play? And I think. I don't think it's necessarily the roster omissions, but I think some of the additions such as Haji Wright, I think they've kind of surrounded Christian and the guys with, I mean, I was watching the 26 stories and Haji held up a picture of them from whatever camp they were. And there was Tyler, there was Luca Della Torre, there was Weston McKennie, there was Haji Wright, there was Christian Pulisic. I mean, these guys are basically just living out their high school days again together. And I think they could be in a position where they're out there they're going to be nerves. Absolutely. But I think these guys are in a position where they can just go out and play their damn game.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the 26 stories because what a great job US Soccer's done over the last week or so with some of the content they're putting out there. I mean, from the FaceTime calls with Greg Berhalter telling these guys that they made the squad, to the 26 stories, and they put out the video of the parents and the families wishing them good luck, which was just so damn cool, man.
I cried in a control room yesterday. I was hiding my tears.
Seeing George Weah look like an absolute like king.
Oh yeah, I
Is
mean the
that
dude's the man. Let's win a Ballon d'Or and then become president of my home country. Yeah, no big.
Wow. Wow. Just you forget about some of these guys and where they come from, and it's so cool to see that moment, man. That was, and if you guys haven't seen the video of the parents and families wishing the players good luck at the World Cup, it's awesome, man. You got to check that out.
I must say, I fully endorse Emerson Acosta's tactics of just kick it over their head and then kick it in, and you win. Mainly because that ball up there has my nephew on it, and his name is also Emerson. So Emerson Acosta, your tactics are fully endorsed by the Yank Report.
So Dave Lieberman brings up a point it's a big point of discussion. I don't see where you start Aronson. The best games this team has played has involved most of the MMA, Pulisic and Weah grouping as the core of the team. Yeah, so the decision to start Aronson was going to be an interesting one. I know in my prediction, I had Aronson starting in this Wales game because I felt like this would be a game where you could see him do a lot of the job that he does for Leeds, where he's that number 10 inside, and you can slip passes into him, and he can kind of spray and create, and then really be the tip of the press, or at least a big part of the press in midfield. But to be fair, whenever you see the lineup that Greg Berhalter put on the field, it's a very strong lineup, and I think it also makes a lot of sense tactically. We saw in the Japan game, in those September friendlies, what this attack looks like whenever Tim Weah is not on the field, and it's not very good.
It lacks verticality.
Yeah, it absolutely does. So I can understand Brendan Aronson not being one of the players selected, but at the same time, a tremendous asset to be able to bring off the bench. I mean, in the 60th minute or beyond, whenever legs are beginning to tire and players are taking a half second longer on each touch, I mean, it's going to be a big opportunity.
The Badger coming off the bench.
Brendan Aronson coming in like an absolute buzzsaw is going to be exciting.
Yes, I think this is also a lineup that allows Greg to make adjustments depending on how the game is going. Because you have Gio Reyna and Brendan Aronson on your bench. You also have Tim Weah out there who you can switch into different positions. I think this is going to be an interesting way to see how Greg makes in-game adjustments as well, just depending on if they give up an early goal or if they score an early goal. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I saw a statistic that the U.S. have like either scored or given up a goal in the first 15 minutes of a World Cup for like some ridiculous amount. So I'm kind of hoping that we don't get either in this game. Like just let it kind of drag out. I feel like as the game goes on, it's better for us because I feel like we've got the better players coming off the bench. So the game of attrition works in our favor. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, one of the things I was thinking about, and that's just something I can't get out of my head, talking about early goals. I hope Matt Turner gets a chance to make an early save. Doesn't have to be a big acrobatic save. Just get your hands on the ball, feel it out. It's kind of like a basketball player. You know, you go out there, get your hands on the ball, and then things kind of settle. That's one of my hopes for Matt Turner, is that something like an easy cross comes in, grabs it, gets out, get the boys out on the break, get him into it so he's not getting stiff back there.
Absolutely, man. And you know, you mentioned the headspace of this group, and the mentality, and it seems like the camaraderie. I mean, we don't know what's going on inside that locker room. We can only get what we hear in interviews and kind of see behind the scenes stuff. But it looks very positive, man. It looks like this group is ready, is relaxed, is in the right headspace, and it looks like they're gonna really be able to pull off something special in this tournament. I feel like I am more confident now than I was, a month ago for sure. But like, it seems like every minute that passes, I just feel more and more like this is going to be a special tournament for the U.S. I see Angel 10 says the Ginger Canary is on fire. I mean, you mentioned Haji Wright, you mentioned Josh Sargent. I mean, so many of these players are guys that we have been watching at the youth ranks and beyond for a long time, man. I remember I put out a tweet about Christian Pulisic about how, like, I've been watching this kid play soccer since he was 16 years old.
Yeah,
This is
we
a
all have.
special moment. This is
Yeah,
a culmination of years and years of following a lot of these guys and getting the opportunity to see them go out. Something that we've been thinking about for a long time. I mean, I've seen people put out rosters of the projected 11 for the 2022 World Cup and what it could be, and to see so many of these guys come good, and some of them in the last hour, like Haji Wright and Josh Sargent, to be added to this team is really special, man. It's really an emotional and exciting thing for U.S. soccer fans.
So I was thinking this morning while I was in the shower, and I got so distracted when I got out of the shower, I realized I forgot to wash my hair. My hair was bone dry. That's how distracted I am. But I was thinking about my journey in sports journalism as well. A few years ago, I was back in Cleveland working for the local ABC affiliate, and the USMNT played a friendly there. And it was right before it wasn't a friendly, it was the Gold Cup. And I interviewed Bruce Arena. I interviewed Matt Beasler and Dom Dwyer. So that should tell you the state of things back then. And just to see the depths of despair that we went to that night against Trinidad and Tobago, and then see the complete overhaul in these kids. If this tournament were to be played when it was supposed to be played back in the summer, this is basically an Olympic team. This is basically a U23 team. And to see these guys shoulder that weight, I mean, qualifying was a bear because, I mean, there's so much you have to go through, especially in CONCACAF. It's a hard grind. And these college kids, basically college-age dudes, went in there, and yes, they made mistakes. Yes, it was up and down, but they didn't let the moment get too big for them. And when they took a punch, they punched right back. And who cares if you qualified in third place? You don't get a trophy for qualifying in first place. The real work is done when you get to the damn thing. And I think they got to the damn thing, and now they're going to ball out because you know what? The pressure was all on them qualifying. And now they're all coming in and they're all just going to be able to play free because I don't think there's a lot of pressure on these guys from the outside. I'm watching a lot of the coverage and a lot of it's just like, we'll see what they do. But us soccer sickos are like, no, these guys can make some noise. Having covered these guys since Bruce was the coach, I'm proud of them. I just want to go see them. Go out there and give it all they got and play free. This is your moment, man. Go take it.
Yeah, and so many of these guys are just like really big personalities, really emotional guys. Tyler Adams, I think, is going to rise to the moment. Weston McKennie, I feel like he's going to rise to the moment. Christian Pulisic has some of his best games of his career whenever the spotlight is really on. Tim Weah, I think, is a similar way. Just really steps up in the big moment. So I'm excited to see what these guys can do. Gasly says, I'm worried about stopping Gareth Bale, man. Ugh. Which is a fair thing. And people have been asking, how do you stop Gareth Bale? Well, I think we got to see in the England game, the way that they stopped Taremi is just deny balls into him, man. Yeah. If the MMA midfield can dominate this game, which it can, there's no reason that it can't. We have better players in the midfield than they do. If you can deny balls into his feet and you can make sure that he's isolated, you can really limit his ability to hurt you. That being said, I mean, he's a phenomenal player and always seems to come up the biggest on the biggest stage. But I think with our midfield and with our pressure, we can limit his contributions to this game for sure.
I worry about him from dead balls. That's what really worries me. I think that's going to be Walker Zimmerman's job all night, is marking him. I think you have Walker Zimmerman then there to corral Gareth Bale in the air.
Mason on fire GGGGGGG says Ramsey's more dangerous than Bale, which may I don't know if I'd agree with that. Ramsey is not quite the player that he was a few years ago. He's been playing in the French league. He was injured for a lot recently. I think he played a few 90-minute games. So he's back into health, back in form. Not sure that he's 100%. So I don't think either Bale or Ramsey are 100%. But I don't think that he's quite got the legs that he used to have. Which is going to be difficult. You know, maybe he's similar to like a Hector Herrera for Mexico, where it's fantastic technically with the ball at his feet, but isn't gonna be all over the pitch quite like he used to be able to do. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But I would say that Gareth Bale, I feel like he's more dangerous than Ramsey at this point.
Yeah, I think they're two wily vets, so
Yeah.
they will always have something in their bag of tricks. You just got to be ready for when it comes out.
E11 is Pong donates $9.99 and says, "Who will score for the U.S. today? Also, who will be GGG Super Subs versus Wales?" Oh, who will score for the U.S. today? I'll start this one off. We're going with our two goals. I'm gonna say Pulisic gets one, and I'm gonna say Weston McKennie gets one. What say you?
You took the words out of my mouth. I got to do something different, I guess. So I'll go. I do think Christian gets one. I just saw him. I've got the feed up here. He was smiling, so that's good. That's always a good sign. I think Christian gets one. And since you said Weston, I guess I'm going to go Josh Sargent. And for super subs, if we're chasing the game, I think Brendan Aronson's first off the bench.
Super subs, yeah, I think I mean Gio Reyna's the super easy one to pick out. I'm wondering about the fitness of Serginho Dest. That's kind of been a storyline coming in. So maybe we see Joe Scally or Shaq Moore or somebody like that come in.
It's a good shot.
I would love to see Kellen Acosta at the end of this game. That would be a great thing because that would mean that we're probably trying to hold on to a lead.
If Kellen Acosta comes in, I think we get one from a set piece.
Yeah, that would be great. If Kellen Acosta is in the game, it probably means good things are happening for the U.S. at this point. But yeah, that would be my guess and hope that we see it that way. I mean, best case scenario for us is we do like England did and go up big, and then we can sit a lot of players. But we'll see how it goes, man.
I've spotted a good question here. Scally for Dest or Yedlin? I think Yedlin. I think Dan James' pace scares me against Yedlin. I mean, I went to college with DeAndre. You can see my Akron Zips Vuvuzela over there. He's still a very good defender, but he has definitely lost a step of that pace. I mean, Greg's going to have to look down the bench and look in Joe Scally's eyes and see if the moment's too big for the kid, which I don't think it will be. I mean, the dude's he made his debut against Bayern at Bayern when Robert Lewandowski was still on the team. So I don't think that's going to be too big of an issue for him. But if he wants to go with a wily vet out there, Yedlin might be a good shot, but for my money, it would be Scally.
Yeah, I just don't see Yedlin getting any minutes in this World Cup unless it's like kind of a thank you minutes at the end of a game or something like that. I would think that it's between Scally and Shaq Moore. Although I've been pretty biased towards Shaq Moore. I said previous to his getting included in the final 26 that he was one of the players most hard done by Greg Berhalter throughout this World Cup cycle. That he's every bit as good as maybe Reggie Cannon or DeAndre Yedlin, and I think that he's a better player than both those guys. And he just hasn't gotten many opportunities, save for that final window against Panama. However, he finds himself in the 26. And I do think that if it comes down to it, I would bring in Shaq Moore over DeAndre Yedlin, but I would bring in Scally over both of them. So we'll see how that goes. Joe Scally's another one. Was he 19 years old coming into this tournament? I mean,
19,
what a
he would have been 18 if it were played in the summer. I mean, come on.
So the U.S. is going to be heading into this World Cup with some very young players, and I forget who the youngest are. It's Joe Scally, Musa, and Gio. I think are the three.
Gio turned 20 last week.
Yeah, so Gio's a 20-year-old, and I think the other two are still teenagers. So, yeah. Oh man,
I'm looking at the scenes. Tom Rinaldi is reporting pitch side. What a man, that Tom Rinaldi.
What is he reporting?
I don't know. I'll mute myself so I can listen to it. You talk.
Yeah, man. So what are we? We're less than half an hour away from kickoff at this point, and boy, oh boy, I mean, it's absolutely electric right now. This is what like 2 years in the making for the Yank Report. I actually started this channel in November of 2020, so it's 2 years at this point. To believe that it's real right now. Whenever 4 years ago, the U.S. wasn't even in the World Cup. This has been 8 years in the making, and it's just I'm so happy we're in this moment right now.
I have a question for you that he was just thrown to a package about Christian Pulisic, which looks stunning, to be honest. Where did you watch the Trinidad and Tobago game?
I watched the Trinidad and Tobago game in my house, so right behind this wall right here.
Nice.
It sucked. I mean, I after the game, I kind of sat in darkness for like half an hour. It was. I mean, sadly, as ridiculous as it sounds, it was one of the darker periods of my life. Man, you wake up the next day and you go from just my life. It was just all soccer content. All the things that I listened to, all the shows that I watched were soccer content. And the day after that Trinidad and Tobago game, you wanted to be a million miles away from any sports or soccer content. So I was just having to like relearn how to live at that point. So it was a pretty rough and dark time. So it feels like we're a million years away from that moment at this point.
I was working the overnight shift back in Cleveland when I was in news, and it's just funny to see how far we've come because I had to log into some weird thing to be able to get a stream for the game. I think it was Verizon's, like it was called like Go 90 or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. Those games weren't televised like the away CONCACAF games in that World Cup cycle. Like I remember watching the Costa Rica USA away game where we absolutely got demolished. I think the final game for Jurgen Klinsmann, I don't remember if that's exactly correct, but it was like 4-0. Yeah, I had to stream that one. I had to watch that on a legal stream. So
It was like I signed up for a free trial of something to be able to stream the game. And then when we lost, I had to pitch my news director. I was like, this is a big deal. Like, dude, this is a really big deal. And then the producer wrote the script and was like, the USA has lost the World Cup. I was like, that's not what happened, but
it felt like it for sure.
Yeah. He was like, I'll give you 30 seconds on it. I'm like, okay. So I tried to talk it up to my anchor, and it was just crazy. But
I mean, we got about 20 minutes left before kickoff. Chat, I want you to let me know who is going to be the player of the game for the U.S. today. Who's going to have the big game? And Brad, I'll let you start off the discussion. Who do you feel like is going to be the player that's going to have the biggest impact for the national team today? And you better not steal mine because you've been stealing mine all stream long.
I'm going to go Weston McKennie. I think with how low Wales is going to sit, I think Weston in the air is going to be big.
I'm going to go with Tyler Adams. I feel like Tyler Adams might be the most informed player coming into this game for the national team. And I think if Wales is really going to hurt us, it's going to be in the transition game. And Tyler Adams is an absolute monster at stopping transition moments. So if he has a big game, if he can shut down those moments where Bale gets the ball on the counter or something like that, that would go a long way towards the U.S. winning this game. So I'm hoping that Tyler Adams is the big player. Let's see. I like this one. Eunice Tosh says Tim Ream, the old horse. I like that a lot. I mean, a big moment for Tim Ream. We both had him on our rosters for this Wales game. It seems like this is a big moment for the national team. There's a lot of young players. To have a guy who is in his mid-30s on the field out there, who has played against a lot of these players, who hopefully will not be unfazed by the moment, who's also calm in possession with the ball at his feet. It seems like a real luxury, a captain with his team, a real luxury for the U.S. to bring in to this first game for the national team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he is out there for his distribution. Watching him against Manchester United was really great to see him spraying the ball all over the place. But I think he's also out there for when some of the young guys start going, he's going to go, calm down. What's the procedure? Everybody stay calm.
Absolutely. Dakota Young says Paul Guaya. I mean, Tim Weah is he's one of those players that you almost forget about whenever you think about like the big stars on the national team, but he has had so many big impactful moments throughout World Cup qualifying. He offers something from the wing position that I don't think any of our other wingers offer. His pace, his ability to get in behind, but also his size. I think we forget about that when talking with Tim about Tim Weah. Just he's an incredibly graceful player, but he's also a very large player. He's a player that you can hit balls up to. I think he's what is he around 6 feet or something like that.
Yeah.
And so you can play balls in behind the defense, but you can also just chip it up to him, and he'll go up there and win it. A really physical player who also happens to be very fast and very agile, and has just come through for the U.S. in so many big moments, and is also just allows the team to play tactically in a way that I think works very well for him. So Dakota Young, if Tim Weah has the big game, I'm all for that.
Absolutely. I mean, his first game back from injury, he came in and had 2 assists in a league game. So I definitely could see Tim Weah having an assist, especially to Pulisic.
Eagle Republic says, I hope Weston McKennie has a great game. I think we said earlier, whenever Weston McKennie has great games, the U.S. men's national team has great games. I predicted him to score a goal. I think he gets a set-piece goal in this game. He had a goal against Mexico in the Dos Acero game. He comes up big in big matches. So Weston McKennie having a big game will go a long way towards the U.S. having a good result.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, especially if we think if Wales plays how we think they're going to play, I think Weston's a very, very important player.
Dakota Young with an interesting observation. Zimmerman is going to have a great pass to Christian Pulisic once again. They don't expect it coming since Ream is the better passer. And yeah, that's something I didn't really think about. We haven't seen Walker Zimmerman on the field for the U.S. with a center back pairing. Someone who's just as good with the ball at his feet as he is, if not better, with Tim Ream. I mean, we saw Walker Zimmerman's balls over the top as a weapon, I think, throughout the end of World Cup qualifying and certainly in the summer. He had that big pass against Morocco, I believe, that created that goal for Brendan Aronson. That was one of the better goals that the U.S. has scored in recent memory. So, yeah, having those two center backs who can both play the ball long but also find the line-breaking pass to open the attack, very exciting for the U.S.
What if we see another long ball over the top to Christian where he plays it down perfectly and just lays it off to whoever's streaking in behind? Back against Panama, it was Brendan. I mean, maybe it's Eunice today. Who knows?
Maybe it's Sargent. You know, there's a lot of guys who can fill in that role, and Sargent is certainly an energy guy. I definitely see there's definitely going to be opportunities for the U.S. to win the ball back up top. Sargent is not just a good pressing forward. He's not just a good defensive pressing forward. He's an absolute elite defensive pressing forward. Statistically, he's one of the top defensive forwards in all of Europe. So he's definitely going to be a weapon in that press if he can poke some balls free, if he can steal some possessions for the U.S. and spray it out wide to Pulisic and to Anthony Robinson or to a streaking Musa or to Tim Weah or something like that. That's a great way forward for the U.S.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I got one eye on the broadcast.
Yeah. It's getting close to time. We're about to hang it up. I could see you falling apart right now. I feel like a lot of people in the comment section will be as well. Dave
How much did you sleep last night?
I actually took a Benadryl last night. I was not playing around. I made sure I was going to get that sleep. Dave Lieberman says, I think Musa running that Musa-Weah combination will be the heart of our successful attack. It is definitely true. If we think back to that Costa Rica game, the game where Serginho Dest had that golazo, we saw a bunch of moments in that game where Dest, Weah, and Musa interchanged positionally, and it worked. It was really effective. I mean, we've seen, we know that Serginho Dest, whenever he's on the right, likes to cut inside. We know that Tim Weah likes to kind of streak outside, and we know that Yunus Musa has played right wing for Valencia in the early part of his career as well. That's funny to say, the early part of his career, like he's 19.
Yeah, he's still 19.
Yeah. So yeah, all those guys are pretty competent at kind of moving in and out of those positions. We saw it play really well during World Cup qualifying. Hopefully we get an opportunity to see it again today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was the home friendly against not home friendly, sorry, home qualifier, whichever one was in Columbus, not Cincinnati. That was Mexico.
The Costa Rica one is the one that came to mind.
That was.
I don't think that I don't think Dust was healthy for the Mexico game, so I don't think we got to see it there. I think that was Yedlin, if memory serves, but
Might
I could
have
be wrong
been.
about that.
Their buildup was great. I mean, just streaking down that right hand side was just absolutely. I mean, I was jumping out of my seat at some points just to see. I think Weston was getting involved too. I think Weston had a cheeky back heel um, to Musa, who dished it to Weah. I'm sorry, not Weah. To Serginho on an overlapping run, and that was just. I mean, that's some of the most creativity I have ever seen out of a U.S. team.
We
And,
had a
and
really nice moment in that game where the U.S. had the ball. We had just turned over Costa Rica, and we were way back in our own zone, and Costa Rica were pressing us. And Musa and Adams and McKinney all kind of overloaded the left side, kind of where Anthony Robinson was. And eventually it squirts to Musa, who plays this really nice ball across the field to Dest, who was basically all alone on the right flank and just charged all the way up the right flank and created a scoring opportunity. A really nice move. Just exciting things that we got to see with that group interchanging. Guys, what are we? 10 minutes away from kickoff. So I would like you guys. To give us your predictions. Let us know. How do you think it's going to go down? Me and Brad already said 2-1. So we'll see how that goes. Let us know in the comment section how you think this game is going to go down. We're going to be back after the game for post-game coverage. Hopefully, it's a very fun and very exciting and very happy post-game coverage. So we'll see. Also, let me know, guys, where are you watching this game from? I know a lot of you are either at work or in class or something like that. So let us know where you're watching the game from. Let's see. Kirk's going with a 1-1 draw.
that's not that bad of a shout, honestly.
Not,
And if we get a 1-1 draw, we're still alive. I wouldn't be happy, but I would be okay with it.
JJ Land says 2-0 for Wales, which is
That's not the Welsh flag.
it's a black flag. I don't know what that is. Audrey says 2-1 USA. Let's go.
Hi, Audrey. That's a friend of mine.
Oh, okay. Jamie Lee says, honestly, be a draw, I'd say. I don't care how, just win. Let's go.
Yeah. I think that's honestly the best opinion, because I think with the roster selection, Greg's been a little bit more pragmatic with, I mean, okay, maybe it's not going to be the pretty style that you wanted to play, where you're trying to change the way the world sees U.S. men's soccer. Okay, be pragmatic. Who cares? Al Davis, just win, baby.
I love Matt Murata says, took time off to watch Wales to win the anthems, U.S. to win the game 2-0. Wales does have an electric anthem, and they sing pretty well. It's
Yeah.
They're going to beat us in that department for sure. But hopefully we win this game. A lot of confident U.S. fans right now. Jesus Campos says 2-0 watching from college. Shout out Jesus getting that education. I'm not. We only had one prediction for a loss, so let's see. Rip 93 Ford says, why is a 0-0 draw popping up in my head right now? Probably because the U.S. has struggled to score goals for long periods, and I believe 0-0 was the result whenever we played Wales. Was it? It was a draw.
It was a 0-0 draw. Yeah.
Okay. Dakota Young says, need points. Win will be great since England seems tough, but any points will be great. Absolutely. The winner of this game today, if either team wins, we'll have a true upper hand in getting out of this group. It's a huge game, absolutely huge, considering the result of the England versus Iran game earlier. John Campera says 2-0. Let's go, baby, from AZ Bartender.
John, real quick, what are you serving most of today? If you can hit us up in the chat, what are you serving most of?
Hopefully it's W's.
Yes.
Dakota Young, U.S. scored early, but Bale gets a free kick late.
That would break my heart.
173 hiking. I believe that we will win. Ooh. I like Christopher. Says 3-0 to U.S. MMA midfield will run the show. Absolutely. That's how it's going to go down. Swinging Kangaroo, 2-1. Pulisic scored an assist. Urias says Pennsylvania stands with Pulisic today, and hopefully every day that Pennsylvania sides with the pride of Pennsylvania, the chocolate king, Christian Pulisic. All right, Brad. I'm
All right,
ready to
buddy.
wrap this one up. Do you have any final thoughts as we head into? Oh man, I'm so nervous right now.
My advice to you would be to start drinking heavily from the great John Belushi. So, cheers. Go USA. Gosh, I don't know. We've been waiting way too long for this. My journey with this team has been up and down, but I love them, and it's become my career. And you know what? Just go play, man. Just go ball out.
Ball out, boys. We've seen you do it. We've seen you have huge moments. We need you to come through for us today. No matter what happens, we will be here for post game show. So make sure you stick with us. Thank you guys for hanging out and watching. Strap in. Put your cell phones in the drawer. Tell everybody leave you alone. Strap in. It's going to be a fun one. We'll see you guys on the other side.